Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back in an episode of Commander Cheapskate Gamer Reviews, and this series reviews various products related to the miniatures wargaming hobby. And on today's episode, we are taking our very last look of the army books available for Warhammer Fantasy 9th edition, made by Matthias Eliasson, as well as the Warhammer Armies Project. So for those of you guys who are tuning in for the very first time on this, what I've been doing is I've been going through the various army books of the Warhammer Armies Project that was created by Matthias Eliasson. The Armies Warhammer Project was actually created as an answer to when Games Workshop decided to not renew the Warhammer Fantasy intellectual property. Back in 2000, a long time ago now actually, what ended up happening is that Games Workshop decided to abandon Warhammer Fantasy and decided to adopt Warhammer Age of Sigmar, so they dropped the fantasy universe which they had for 30 plus years and decided to go with Age of Sigmar instead. And of course, a lot of Warhammer Fantasy fans were upset because it was a game with a 30-year history of people playing it and lore and all kinds of stuff. So because of that, they looked for alternative ways in order to continue playing Warhammer. A lot of people like myself just kept on playing Warhammer 8th edition, but Matthias Eliasson actually created a rule set for 9th edition Warhammer Fantasy. Not only did he write the rules for it, but he also wrote army books for all the factions that were available at that time. At the same time, also wrote books for factions that were never officially supported by Games Workshop. So he did an amazing job on this, and we've gone through every single one of the army books up to this point, and so our very last one that we're going to do to this one is Skaven. So what we're going to do is take a look at the Skaven Army Book. We're going to take a look at its army rules as well as its bestiary. We're going to take a look at its magic system and magic items. We'll also take a look at their special characters and their army lists. And because this one is a little bit more of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps down in the description box down below, so that way you can navigate to various parts of the book that interest you the most. So that being said, let's get this video on a roll. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Skaven Army Book. So just for starters, I've never played Skaven. I haven't really much experience playing against Skaven either. My gaming group and I have never really played this faction too much, so because I don't really know much about the Skaven book from 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy. Regardless of that though, if you look, the desktop publishing job that Matthias Eliasson has done for the Warhammer Armies Project is absolutely beautiful. Like I keep saying, if you didn't know any better, you would assume this was an actual legitimate product made by Games Workshop. So I'm not really sure about the rules before for Skaven. I do know they do fight in horde formations and that they rely upon rank bonuses to increase their leadership. I do remember that being a game mechanic, but aside from that though, I really don't have much knowledge about these guys. So this is kind of like a new one for me. So let's go and talk about this real quick. So first of all, we're going to skip the lore behind the Skaven just because it's not a lore video at all. So if you are a lore person, feel free to download this PDF from the website and read all about all you want. What we're going to focus on instead are all the rules associated with his army as well as the army list. So let's go and talk about the verminous hordes of the Skaven real quick. So we have army special rules. We have Scurry Away. All models of the Skaven army rules have Swift Stride when fleeing, which makes sense. We also have Strength in Numbers. Units of this special rule add what would be their combat resolution bonus from their ranks to their leadership value for any psychology and break test. To calculate the leadership of a unit with the unit strength and numbers rule, first determine the unit's leadership as normal, and then add the rank bonuses to the unit up to this value up to maximum leadership of 10. Note that a Skaven general confers his basic leadership and then units modify it with their own rank bonuses. Any bonus from the ranks of the general's unit is not passed on to units within his aspiring presence range. For if any reason a Skaven unit loses its rank bonus, it also loses leadership bonus. For instance, fleeing units do not have rank bonuses, so fleeing Skaven must use their basic leadership. We have Verminous Valor. If a Skaven player refuses a challenge, a Skaven character is placed in the back rank of the unit and may not attack, but the unit may still use the model's leadership value or hold your ground ability. We have Clan Enmity. Units belonging to each of the greater clans, Pestilence, Escher, Molder, or Skyr, may not join forces by characters in the same clan. So it looks like they have that going on. We have the Scavenge Pile Warp Lock Pistol. It's a pistol with 12-inch range, strength 5, armor piercing 1, magical attack, script to fire at unstable ammunition. Anytime a weapon that uses unstable ammunition scores a hit result of 1 on its roll to hit, roll another dice. If it's followed by another one, the gun misfires and the fire suffers the hit himself. We have Tail Weapon. The model gains +1 attack. Note that this attack does not gain any of the rules of other weapons the model might carry. Rat Hound Bodyguard. A model with a Rat Hound upgrade can make an additional weapon skill 3, strength 3, initiative 3 attack. However, on a hit roll of 1 from the attack, the Rat Hound will instead inflict an automatic hit on its owner. Interesting. And Warpstone tokens. A wizard may choose to eat some Warpstone to boost his powers. Before casting a spell, announce which model is eating Warpstone tokens. Each token that can be used once for each token consumed. A wizard can add an additional power dice to his casting attempt. This allows users to roll more dice than normally allowed by their level. A spell may be cast entirely with Warpstone tokens if you wish. However, for every Warpstone generated dice that rolls a 1, the wizard suffers a wound with no saves allowed. So some pretty interesting army rules so far. Alright, so continuing on with our look at the army list, we have Warlords. Our Warlords have movement 5, weapon skill 6, 4 ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 7 initiative, 4 attacks, 7 leadership. The Chieftain has 1 less weapon skill, 1 less wound, 1 less initiative, 1 less attack, and 1 less leadership. They have the Scurry Away, strength in numbers, and Verminous Valor special rules. After that, we have our Grey Seers. Our Grey Seers are our wizards. Let's take a look here. So, Grey Seers, movement 5, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength 3, 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 5 initiative, 1 attack, 6 leadership. They have magic, who can use spells from Lore of Ruin and or the Lore of Plague. They also may use a combination of spells from both lores. In addition to their normally chosen spells, they also know the following spell: Curse the Horned Rat, cast an 18+, direct damage spell with a range of 24 inches that can target infantry units. The unit suffers 3d6 hits with no single model can be hit more than once. Each model hit is automatically slain with only magic resistance being allowed as saves against the twisting power of the Horned Rat. If the whole unit is removed as casualties, replace them with a number of clan rats equal to the number of casualties with any normally allowed equipment or command facing the same direction as before. The casting player now controls this unit. If the casting player does not have enough models to replace the entire unit, transfer what you can, the rest are considered destroyed. If the number rolled is not great enough to replace the whole target unit, they simply remove as many casualties as the number rolled. They simply mutate and die or are slain by horrified comrades. So, they cap that spells. So they have Scurry Away, strength numbers, and Verminous Valor as well. Then we have the Screaming Bell, which is the infamous war machine from the Skaven. It's got a movement of 5, 5 strength, 6 toughness, 6 wounds. It's got a Rat Ogre crew member. It's a shrine. It causes fear, large target 5, magic resistance 2, ward save 4+. All to the Horned Rat. This model, any unit it joins, is the stubborn special rules above the masses. The Grey Seer may use Verminous Valor to refuse a challenge, but is not moved to the back of the unit. Instead, it climbers higher atop the Screaming Bell. The Grey Seer is not moved, but cannot fight or be attacked for the duration of the close combat round. In your magic phase, immediately after generating power dice, you can choose to ring the Screaming Bell. The owning player can choose to roll between 1 to 3 d6s, representing the vigor the Rat Ogre Bell Ringers commanded to supply. If the ringing Screaming Bell suffers 1 or more wounds inflicted by a shooting attack with strength 5 or more, it will ring once using 1 die. So we have 1, not yet in stride. The air stirs with magical energy, but no game effect yet. 2 to 4 is Unholy Clamor. The bell pushes the bell immediately, moving random movement d6 special rule. 5 to 8 is Emboldened. All friendly Skaven units within 24 inches can reroll failed leadership tests to start your next turn. On a 9 to 10, Scorch. The bell itself, not Grey Seer, immediately casts the Scorch spell from Lore of Ruin when casting value of 5+. That requires no power dice and cannot be increased anyway. 12 to 11 is Deafening Peals. All war machines and chariots with the movements of 7 or more that are within 18 inches of the Screaming Bell immediately take a wound with multiple d3 special rule. Roll a d6 for each building within 18 inches of the bell. Each collapse on a roll of 5+. Models and side collapse buildings are treated the same as per the Crack Call spell from the Lore of Ruin. On a 13, we have Stirring Beyond the Veil. All enemy units within 12 inches of the bell take d6 strength 4 hits as from shooting. Additionally, if the unit pushes the Screaming Bell is in combat, it gains the Fight Extra Rank 1 special rule for the remainder of that turn. 14 through 16 is Wall of Unholy Sound. All models in each unit, friendly unit within 12 inches of the Screaming Bell gain +1 attack until the end of the player turn. Roll a d6 for each building within 24 inches. Each collapse on a roll of 4+. 17, Avalanche of Energy. All friendly models within 12 inches of the bell gain +1 attack and may reroll fail to hit into wound rolls until the end of the player's turn. Any friendly Skaven units within 12 inches of the Screaming Bell are not in close combat can immediately move using random movement d6 special roll. And then 18, Apocalyptic Doom. The Screaming Bell is destroyed. All models within 12 inches take a strength 4 hit with a Nord's Armor Save special rule. And then doubles. If any doubles are rolled, a backlash of magic reverberates to the Screaming Bell. Apply the following effect in addition to any result on that chart. The unit pushing Screaming Bell immediately immediately takes D6 strength 4 hits. And triplets. If a triplet is rolled, apply the following effect. In addition to the result of the chart, the unit pushing the bell immediately suffers 2d6 strength 5 hits, and the Screaming Bell itself suffers a single strength 5 hit. So very, very dangerous weapon, the Screaming Bell. Then we have our Vermin Lords. So these are the greater demons of the Horned Rat. So Vermin Lord is movement 8, weapon skill 8, ballistic skill 4, strength 6, toughness 6, 6 wounds, 10 initiative, 5 attacks, 8 leadership. It is a monster character. A Vermin Lord is a wizard who uses spells in the lore of Ruin and or the lore of Plagues. They may use a combination of spells from both lores. In addition, they also know the Curse of the Horned Rat spell. They have Demonic, so a Vermin Lord is the unstable and ward save 5 up are special rules. In addition, it can never be the army general. And the Doomglaive weapon. Attacks made with this weapon have a multiple wounds D3 special rules. So we have our greater demons there. And it looks like we have our various different types of Vermin Lord. These guys are created, I think, during the game from the end times. So we have a Warp Seers, Master of Lightning. A Vermin Lord Warp Seer may choose all its spells from the Lore of Ruin and can re-roll failed casting attempts when attempting to cast the Warp Lightning spell from the Lore of Ruin. We also have the Scry Orb. A Vermin Lord Warp Seer gains a ward save of 6+ while it carries this item. Once per game in the shooting phase, you may choose to throw the Scry Orb. If you do so, the bonus's ward save is immediately lost for the rest of the game. To throw the Scry Orb, place a small round template with its center anywhere within 12 inches of the Vermin Lord Warp Seer and within its line of sight. Scatter the template using the scatter dice and a d6. Models touched by the template must pass an initiative test or be destroyed with no saves of any kind allowed. Remember that a 6 is always a failure. Lookout still works as normal. Then we have the Vermin Lord Deceiver, who is shrouded in darkness. Enemy units that target a Vermin Lord Deceiver with a shooting attack suffer a -1 hit modifier, in addition to any other modifiers. And they also have the Shadow Strider. A Vermin Lord Deceiver may choose all of its spells in the Lore of Stealth, and it can reroll failed casting attempts when attempting to cast the Skitter Leap spell from the Lore of Stealth, and can choose itself as the target of the spell. It's also armed with a Warpstone Stiletto, which is a magic weapon. Attacks made with the weapon have an armor-piercing 1 and poison attack special rule. This replaces the Doomglaive and the Doomstar. This is a missile weapon with the following profile: 12-inch range, strength as user, arcing death, quick to fire, and poison attacks. Arcing Death. Weapon with this special rule makes as many shots as the number of models in the front rank of the target unit that are within range. So, very cool there. We also have our Vermin Lord Corruptors. Let's see here. So they're Plague Masters. A Vermin Lord Corruptor may choose all of its spells from Lord of Plague and reroll failed casting attempts attempting to cast Plague. It's got Plague Reapers, 2 hand weapons. Attacks made with these weapons have the Always Strike First special rule. This replaces the Doomglaive. And then the Vermin Lord Warbringers. These guys have what's called Verminous Fury. A Vermin Lord Warbringer must choose all of its spells in Lore of Ruin and can re-roll failed casting attempts when attempting to cast Death Frenzy. Doomglaive and Punch Dagger, magic weapon, 2 hand weapons. Attacks made with these weapons have the Killing Blow and multiple wounds D3 special rules. So it looks like these are our Vermin Lord variants that we have. Then we have the Humble Clan Rat, which makes up most of the core in the Skaven Army. With movement 5, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 5 leadership. The Claw Leader is a champion, has 1 additional attack. They still have the Scurry Away, strength and number special rule. Then we have our Storm Vermin, which are more elite infantry unit choices with 1 additional weapon skill and 1 better leadership. And the Fang Leader has 1 additional attack. They have the Scurry Away and strength and numbers rule as well. Then we have our Skaven Slaves, which are the expendable types, I imagine. Let's take a look here. They have movement 5, weapon skill, ballistic skill 2, 3 strength, 3 toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 2 leadership. The Paw Leaders got 1 additional attack. They are expendable. I can imagine that. Scurry Away, strength and number. Life is cheap special rule. Skaven can voluntarily target ranged attacks, including templates, and enemy units engaged in close combat with Skaven Slaves, but no other friendly troops, even if they are further away than 4 inches away. However, if they do so, they will hit their Skaven Slaves on a hit roll of 1s and 2s rather than just 1s. And then Cornered Rats. If a unit of Skaven Slaves breaks from combat, any units that they flee through, friend or foe, immediately take D6 strength 3 hits for each complete rank of 5 or more Skaven Slaves left in the unit. The broken unit is then removed as casualties. So I was supposed to show their, their cowardice. Then we have our Rat Swarms, which are movement 6, weapon skill 3, 0 ballistic skill, 1 strength and toughness, 8 wounds, 4 initiative, 8 attacks, 3 leadership, and they're a swarm. Then we have Plague Monks. These guys have movement 5, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength of 3, 1 additional toughness, so their toughness 4, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 5 leadership. The Plague Deacons got 1 additional attack. They have Frenzy, as well as Scurry Away and Strength in Numbers, and they have the Plague Banner for 25 points. Magic Standard, 1 use only. The Plague Banner may be activated at the start of any close combat phase. For the remainder of the phase, all Plague Monk models in the unit may reroll fail to hit rolls and fail to wound rolls. So, very terrifying there. Then we have our Plague Priests. I imagine these are the Plague Pestilence magic casters. Movement 5, Weapon Skill 5, 3 Ballistic Skill, 4 Strength and 5 Toughness, 3 Wounds, 6 Initiative, 3 Attack, 7 Leadership. Plague Priest has 1 less Weapon Skill, 1 less Wound, 1 less Initiative, 1 less Attack, and 1 less Leadership. They have Plague Priests and Plague Lords are wizards who use spells and lore of the Plague. They have Frenzy, Scurry Away, and Strength and Numbers. Then we have our Plague Censer Bearers. Those guys have Movement 5, Weapon Skill, Blitz Skill, a Strength of 3, 4 Toughness, 1 Wound, 3 Initiative, 1 Attack, 5 Leadership. The Plague Chanters got 1 additional attack. They have Frenzy, Hatred, Scurry Away, and Skirmishers. And the Plague Censer. It's a flail. At the start of each round of close combat in which they are fighting all models of base contact, friend of flow, including the Plague Censer itself, with 1 or more models bearing a Plague Censer must pass a Toughness test or suffer a single wound with the ignores armor saves and magical attack special rules. All Clan Pestilence models gain +1 bonus for these tests, which makes sense. You know, they're the ones creating it all. Then we have a Plague Claw Catapult. It's got Toughness of 7. The crew, of course, is manned by regular Plague Monks. It's a War Machine Store Thrower from Clan Pestilence. They have this Frenzy special rule. The Plague Call Catapult uses the following profile with a 48 range, Strength 2, ignores armor save. The Plague Claw Catapult uses the large template. Any unit that takes 1 or more wounds must immediately take a panic test. In case a misfire is rolled, roll the d6 and consult the Plague Fire miss part below. We have Twang. The War Machine is destroyed. 3 to 5, suspiciously off target. The opposing player may reposition the template anywhere within 3d6 in the intended target position, and 6 accident. The Plague Claw Catapult cannot fire this turn. So very interesting there. Then we have the Plague Furnace, which is the other version of the Screaming Bill. It's got Movement 5, 5 Strength, 6 Toughness, 6 Wounds, operated by normal Plague Monks, it looks like. Troop type is a Shrine, Altar of the Horned Rat, as well as Fear, Frenzy, Large Target, and Magic Resistance 2. Billowing Death. Billowing Death follows the rules for breath weapons, but it can be used in every turn. All models hit must pass a Toughness test or suffer a wound with ignores armor saves and magical attack special rules. All Clan Pestilence models gain a +1 bonus for this test. And Wrecker Attack. The Plague Furnace may inflict a special attack after all their attacks have been resolved, inflicting an artillery dice worth of hits against a single enemy unit in their front. A roll of misfire means that something's gone wrong. Roll a d6 on the Plague Furnace mischap below. 1 through 2 we have Crunch. The Plague Furnace immediately suffers d3 wounds, and the unit pushing it takes d6 at Strength 5 hits. 3 to 5 is Bellowous Cloud. Immediately work out a special Bellowing Death attack that causes 2d6 hits on a unit pushing the Plague Furnace, and then 6 Maddening Fumes. Any unit pushing the Plague Furnace makes an additional full round of close combat attacks against any enemy unit in base contact. After this, they suffer d6 wounds. Any casualties cannot count towards... any casualties caused count towards combat resolution. So, very cool, powerful ability there. Then we have our Plague Rat Swarms. Look like it's a totally different type. With Movement 6, 3 Weapon Skill, 0 Ballistic Skill, 1 Strength, the Toughness, 8 Wounds, 4 Initiative, 8 Attacks, and 3 Leadership. And they have Poison Attacks. Interesting. Then we have our Night Runners, which I remember correctly are Assassins, if I remember correctly. Night Runners have Movement 6, Weapon Skill, Ballistic Skill, Strength, and Toughness 3, 1 Wound, 5 Initiative, 1 Attack, 5 Leadership. The Night Leaders got 1 additional attack. They have the Scurry Away, Strength in Numbers, and Vanguard special rule. Then we have our Gutter Runners, which I guess are much more advanced assassins. Those guys have Movement 6, Weapon Skill, Ballistic Skill 4, 3 Strength and Toughness, 1 Wound, 6 Initiative, 1 Attack, 6 Leadership. The Death Runners got 1 additional attack. They have Ambushers rule, Dodge 6+, Scout, Scurry Away, and Skirmishers. And they have Snare Nets. When it is their turn to attack, roll a d6 for each model arm of Snare Nets. On a +2, 1 enemy model and base contest and snare suffers -1 attack, both rider and mount, for the remainder of the close combat phase. So it looks like these guys have ambushing, which is kind of nice. Go after War Machines. And then we have Assassins. Looks like it's a character type for Clan Eshin. So we have the Master Assassin, Movement 6, Weapon Skill 7, 6 Ballistic Skill, 4 Strength and Toughness, 3 Wounds, 9 Initiative, 4 Attacks, 8 Leadership. And the Assassin's got 1 less Weapon Skill, 1 less Ballistic Skill, 1 less Wound, 1 less Initiative, and 1 less Attack and Leadership as well. It's a special, it looks like it's an infantry character for Clan Eshin, with a 5+ to Dodge, Hidden, Poison Attack, Scout, Scurry Away. It says Sensei. A Master Assassin may be the Army General, however, he can only pass on his leadership value to other units when he is not hidden, if he is not hidden. Then we have Clad Edition Tools of War. We have Weaving Blades for 30 points, 2-hand weapons, all attacks made by Weaving Blades, and armor piercing 1, magical attacks, multiple wounds D3, and poison attack special rule. We have Warpstone Stars for 20 points, throwing weapons. Warpstone Stars have the armor piercing 1, magical attacks, and multiple wounds D3 wounds. We have Smoke Bombs for 10 points, one per model only, one use only. If a model with smoke bombs breaks from combat, you can choose to smash the bombs underfoot to slow the victors as they pursue. Before declaring to pursue, announce that the smoke bombs are being detonated. Any units pursuing this model roll 1d6 less than normal this turn. An Infernal Bomb for 30 points, once per turn only, once per model only, one use only. As long as he is not hidden, an assassin can place an Infernal Bomb anywhere along his movement path during the remaining sub-movement phase. Place a marker where the bomb is placed. You may choose to detonate the bomb at the start of any movement sub-phase by rolling a d6. On a roll of 1, the Infernal Bomb is a dud and does not explode. Perhaps the Warlock Engineer have betrayed you. On a 2+, the bomb will explode. Place a large round template center on the marker. Any model of the template center takes a single strength 10 hit with multiple wounds D3 special rule. Any models touched by the template suffer a strength 3 hit with armor piercing 1 special rule. And then we have Eshin Triads. Let's see, it looks like 3 Skaven Assassins tasked with hunting down and killing vulnerable individuals. Okay, so these guys are movement 6, 5 weapon skill, 4 strength and toughness, 2 wounds, 7 initiative, 2 attacks, 7 leadership. They have dodge 5+, poison attack, scout, scurry away, as well as skirmishers. So it looks like we have some bonuses for different clan types. So we have Eshin Sorcerers. The Sorcerer Lord's got movement 6, weapon skill, bliss skill 4+, 3 strength, 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 5 initiative, 1 attack, 6 leadership. The Eshin Sorcerers got 1 less in wounds as well as leadership. The Eshin Sorcerer's Wizard uses slurs from the spells from the lore of stealth. They have poison attack, scurry away, strength in numbers, and verminous valor. So that looks pretty interesting. Looks like they've given pretty much all the clans their own thing. Then we have Pack Masters, who have movement 6, 3 weapon skill, bliss skill, strength and toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 5 leadership. Mixed unit, special rule of scurry away and strength in numbers. They follow the rules for champions. They're armed with a whip, giving them +1 attack on the fight extra ranks 2 special rule. In addition, they may make supporting attacks equal to their attack characteristic. And a Things Catcher, it's a pull arm. A Things Catcher gives the wielder the killing blow special rule. So, pretty deadly, these guys. Then we have Master Molders. I guess it's from Clan Molder. Looks like these guys are 6 movement, 5 weapon skill, 3 bliss skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 6 initiative, 3 attacks, and leadership. A Master Molder, a Mutator, and Molder has 1 less weapon skill. Looks like 1 less wound, 1 less initiative, 1 less attack, 1 less leadership. They're from Clan Molder. They have the Scurry Away and Strength and Numbers special rule. Beastmaster, Master Molders, and Master Mutators may join units of Giant Rats or Rat Ogres and act as their handlers following the Mixed Unit special rule. All friendly Clan Molder units with 6 inches of a Master Molder or 12 inches of a Master Mutator roll 3d6 for all leadership tests and discard the highest dice. Very cool. Clan Molder Beast Prods, we have a Shock Prod for 25 points. It's a pole arm. Shock Prod gives the wielder lightning attack special rule, and a Electro Whip for 25 points. It's a whip. An Electro Whip gives the wielder plus D3 attacks rather than 1, as well as lightning attack special rule. So very cool there. Then we have our Giant Rats, which are movement 6, weapon skill 3, 0 bliss skill, 2 strength toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 3 leadership with a Pack Master. They have fight extra ranks 1, mixed unit, scurry away, and strength and numbers rule. Then we have Wolf Rats. I don't know if these guys were around in 8th edition, but it looks like they're a brand new unit. Movement 8, 4 weapon skill, 0 bliss skill, 4 strength, 3 toughness, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 5 leadership. They got Frenzy as well as strength and numbers and Vanguard. You can give them Pox Feeder upgrade. The unit has poison attack special rule, Warpstone Shard Teeth. The unit gains armor piercing 1, a magical attack special rule, and Bloated Mutants. The Wolf Rats gain +1 toughness but suffer -1 through their initiative. So very, very cool ability there. Then we have the beloved Rat Ogre. So the Rat Ogre's got movement 6, 3 weapon skill, 1 bliss skill, 5 strength, 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 4 initiative, 3 attacks, 5 leadership, led by a Pack Master. They have Frenzy, Mixed Unit, Scurry Away, Strength in Numbers, as well as Stupidity. And then we have upgrades for them. Armored, all Rat Ogres in the unit gain medium armor. Brain Transplant, all Rat Ogres in the unit are no longer subject to Stupidity or Frenzy. Extra Extremities, all Rat Ogres gain +1 attack. Quadrupedal, all Rat Ogres in the units gain +1 movement. Resilient, all Rat Ogres in the unit gain +1 toughness, or Trollblood, all Rat Ogres in the unit gain Regeneration 5-up special rule. Kind of interesting how you can customize your Rat Ogres now. Then we have the dreaded Hell Pit Abomination. So, That thing's got looks like it's got random movement, 3 weapon skill, 1 ballistic skill, 6 strength, 5 toughness, 6 wounds, 4 initiative, special attacks with 8 leadership. Its causes D6 impact hits, random movement of 3d6, regeneration 4+, and it's stubborn. Then we have Shambling Horror of 2 or more 1s on any triples are rolled. When the Hell Abomination is making its random movement, do not move the Hell Pit Abomination. Instead, roll D6 on the Berserk Abomination chart. Grinding Halt, the beast does not move. On a 2-5 Blind Fury, the model moves the distance rolled in a random direction determined by a scatter die and fluid injected for 6. The Hell Pit Abomination moves as normal and will increase its strength by 1 for the remainder of the game. Furthermore, Berserk Abomination rolls a 6 will not increase the beast's profile, but will instead immediately inflict D6 wounds on it. Then we have special close combat attacks. Abominations do not attack in the same way as other creatures. Roll D6 when it is the Hell Pit Abomination's turn to attack and see what a mutated beast does. On a 1-2 it feeds. All enemy models in base contact suffer a automatic strength 6 hit with the multiple wounds D3 special rules. Flailing Fists on a 3-4, the Hell Pit Abomination attacks using the random attacks 2d6 special rule, and 5-6 Avalanche of Flesh. Let's see here. Every model in base contact with the Abomination must pass an initiative test or suffer an automatic strength 6 hit. Additionally, the Hell Pit Abomination attacks using the random attacks D6 special rule. Then we have Too Horrible to Die. As soon as the Hell Pit Abomination loses its last wound, roll a d6 and check the Too Horrible to Die chart. If any of the Hell Pit Abomination's wounds were lost to flaming attacks, the beast is dead and no roll on the chart is allowed. On a 1-3 it's dead. The Hell Pit Abomination is dead, never to return. On a 4-5 the rats emerge. All units in base contact with the Abomination take 2d6 strength 2 hits, representing the rats emerging after the beast's writhing death throes. The Hell Pit Abomination is then removed from play. And then 6, it's alive. The Hell Pit Abomination comes back to life. Roll a d3 to see how many wounds the creature has recovered. Its upgrades are Warpstone Spikes. The Hell Pit Abomination has the Magic Resistance 1 and Magical Attack Special Rule. Wow, pretty crazy. And then we have the Storm Fiends. If I remember correctly, these guys are from the End Times, if I remember correctly. So Storm Fiends have movement 6, 4 weapon skill, 3 ballistic skill, 5 strength, 4 toughness, 4 wounds, 5 initiative, 4 attacks, 7 leadership. They're monstrous infantry from Clan Mulder. They have the Scurry Array and Strength in Numbers rule, and it says each unit model in the unit of Storm Fiends must be given one of the following weapons. Note that the unit can take with the weapons in any combination. We have Doomflayer Gauntlets, Grinder Fists, Rattling Cannons, Shocking Gauntlets, Warp Fire Projectors, and Wind Launchers. So we have Doomflayer Gauntlets. It's combat strength as the user with plus 2d3 attacks, impact hits d3. Grinder Fists, a combat strength as the user, magical attacks, Tunneler, and Warp Strike. Rather than attacking normally, the model with this rule inflicts 2d3 impact hits at the start of each round of close combat. And a Tunneler, unit that contains a model with Grinder Fist, allows rules for ambushers during deployment, but before scouts are set up, place a tunnel marker anywhere on the battlefield that is not impassable terrain. When the Storm Fiends emerge, roll a scatter dice and an artillery dice. If you roll a hit on the scatter dice, this marker stays in place. If you roll an arrow, move the marker in the number of inches indicated by the artillery dice and direction shown by the arrow. If the marker is moved off table, the team and its parent unit are considered lost. Treat them as casualties. If you roll misfire, the unit is delayed, and you'll need to roll the scatter die or artillery die again for the next round. Once the final position is established, place the Storm Fiends so they touch the marker. If the marker is under a friendly unit of impassable terrain, place it next to the closest edge of the unit terrain. They may face in any direction. If the marker is under an enemy unit, when the Storm Fiends emerge, they count as charging. Place the attacking Storm Fiends to the front of the enemy unit that is atop the marker. Rattling Cannons have a range of 24 inches with 4 strength, armor-piercing 1 magical attacks, 3d6 multiple shots, and hot wart lead. Rattling Cannons do not suffer to any hit penalties for firing multiple shot. It's also wildfire. Each to hit roll of 1 inflicts 1 hit on the closest friendly unit in the firing unit's front arc that is within range. If there are no eligible friendly units, then the attack misses. Shock Gauntlets have combat of +1 strength, +1 attack, impact hits, D3 lightning attacks, and magical attacks, and warp fire projectors. Each model warp fire projector fires as a fire thrower using the following profile with strength 5, double the death, flaming attacks, magical attacks, multiple wounds D3, wildly off target, double of the death. Any failed to wound rolls with warp fire projectors may be re-rolled. Very cool. And wildly off target. Do not roll on the black powder misfire chart of warp fire projectors misfire. Instead, the weapon inflicts D6 automatic hits on the closest friendly unit in their firing or unit's front arc that's within 12 inches. If there's no eligible unit within 12 inches, the warp fire projector simply does not fire that turn. And wind launchers. These are motors in their back. They fire a stone thrower with an 8 to 36 inch range, ignores armor saves, magical attacks, plague wind, and wild misfire. Plague Wind. Models hit by a Plague Wind must pass a toughness test or suffer a wound. Successful test must be re-rolled. And Wild Misfire. Do not roll on the Stone Thrower misfire chart if the wind launcher is misfire. Instead, the template for the attack scatters 2d6 inches. Wow. These guys have quite a bit of rules for them. I just imagine just using Storm Fiends and just putting them out in the front, just causing all kinds of problems. Then we have a Brood Horror. It's got movement 8, 3 weapon skill, 0 ballistic skill, 5 strength and toughness and wounds, 4 initiative, 5 attack, 6 leadership. It is a monster with poison attacks. It's got Fell Ichor. If a Brood Horror is slain, all units of base contact with the Brood Horror suffer 2d6 strength 2 hits, distributed as shooting attacks. You can give it a Lash Tail, which gives a +1 attack, Rusted Armor, gives it medium armor, Squire Claws, the Brood Horror gains armor piercing 1 and magical attack special rule, and Pestilent Breath, the Brood Horror gains a strength 2 breath weapon, which ignores armor saves, so very terrifying there. Then we have Warplock Engineers. So these are Clan Skyer, if I remember correctly. These are the guys who make all the gear and the whatnots for these guys. So our Warplock Master has movement 5, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 4, 3 strength, 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 6 leadership. The Warplock Engineers got 1 less ballistic skill, 1 less toughness, 1 less wound, and 1 less leadership. They're Warp Masters who know spells of the Lore of Ruin. They have the Scurry Away, Strength in Numbers, and Venomous Valor. So they are magic users. And we have War Gear for Clan Skyer. We have Warplock Optics for 20 points. 1 per model only. A Warplock Engineer equipped with Warplock Optics gain +1 to his ballistic skill, as well as a Norse Cover and Sniper special rule. Upgraded Warp Energy Condenser for 10, 1 per model only. A Warp Energy Condenser gives the wearer a +1 bonus when channeling Power Dice. Warp Blades for 10 points. It's a polearm. Warp Blades gives the bearer +1 to cast the Warp Lightning spell from the Lore of Ruin. Warp Musket for 5 points. It's a handgun. All shots from the Warp Musket resolve at strength 5, and the magical attacks and stable ammunition special rules. Warp Forged Blade with 5 points. Hand weapon. A Warp Forged Blade gives the wielder the ignores armor saves and magical attack special rule. Supercharged Warp Power Accumulator for 5 points, 1 per model only. A Warp Power Accumulator allows the bearer to cast spells with 1 more power dice than he normally is allowed. Brass Orb for 50 points, 1 per model only, 1 use only. The bearer can throw the brass orb in the shooting phase. Place the small round template in the center anywhere within 6 inches of the character in his line of sight. The template then scatters d6 inches. Models touched by the template must take an initiative test or be removed as casualties with no saves of any kind allowed. This is a magical attack. If 1 is rolled, they center the template in the on the model throwing the globe. Then we have a Death Globe for 25, 1 per model only, 1 use only. Place a small round template with its center anywhere within 6 inches of the character and in his line of sight. The template then scatters d6 inches. All models touched by the template must pass a toughness test or suffer a wound with a Norse armor save and magical attack special rule. If a 1 is rolled, center the template on the model throwing the globe. And then we have the Doom Rocket for 30 points, 1 per model only, 1 use only. A Doom Rocket is fired like a stone thrower with the following profile: 36-inch range, strength 5, slow to fire. In a case a misfire is rolled a d6 and consult the Doom Rocket misfire chart. On a 1, Thume, place the template with the model that fired the rocket, resolve the blast normal. 2 to 5, stabilizing Finlost. The template scatters 3d6 inches from the original position, resolve any hits as normal, and 6 it's a dud. Resolve the shot as normal, but do not place the template any model directly below the impact spot, suffers a single strength 5 hit. Then we have our Poisoned Wind Globadiers. So these guys are a classic model. They have movement 5, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness of 3, 1 wound, 4 initiative, 1 attack, 5 leadership. The Bombardiers got 1 additional ballistic skill. They are infantry with Scurry Away and skirmishers. They have the Poison Wind Globes, range of 6 inches, ignores armor saves, magical attacks, and quick to fire. Models hit by a Poison Wind Globe must pass a toughness test or suffer a wound. On a to-hit roll of 1, a Globadier hits himself, including close combat. Gas Mask. When a model with a gas mask is forced to take a toughness test from any weapon source in Warhammer Skaven, they get a +2 bonus for these tests. So that's kind of interesting. And then we have the Warplock Giselles. Warplock team has got movement 5, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength and toughness 3, 2 wounds, 4 initiative, 2 attacks, 5 leadership. The Sharpshooters got 1 additional ballistic skill. They have the Scurry Away and Sniper special rule for the Sharpshooter only. The Warplock Giselles got 36-inch range, strength 6, armor piercing 1, magical attacks, movement fire, unstable ammunition. They have a Bevice, which gives them an additional save against missile attacks, so that's kind of cool. Then we have our weapons teams, which have movement 5, weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength and toughness of 3, 2 wounds, 4 initiative, 2 attacks, 5 leadership. They have the Scurry Away special rule as well as attached unit. A weapon team must be deployed at the same time and within 3 inches of the unit it was bought with. After this, the weapon teams is free to move and count as a normal unit for all purposes. In addition, they follow the lookout serve rules for shooting at lone characters, representing them lurking in obscurity and ducking for the protective cover of a larger target. So they have several weapons they could choose from, which is a warp fire thrower. It fires like a fire thrower with strength 5, flaming attacks, magical attacks, multiple wounds D3, slow to fire. In case of a misfire is roll D6. They have woof, where they explode. A 3 to 4 is fuel leak. The weapon team flees in a random direction decided by the scatter die before exploding. Any movement this device explodes exactly of the woof result above. Send a large round template over the center of the weapon team and resolve damage as normal. Wow. And then we have with a disappointing fizzle, the warp fire thrower fails to fire but does not explode. The crew may not fire this turn. So interesting. Then we have a rattling gun for 24-inch range, strength 4, armor piercing 1, magical attacks, multiple shots. It says hot warp lead. Because of its high rate of fire, the rattling crew does not suffer any penalty for firing multiple shots. Roll artillery dice to determine the number of shots fired. After the first artillery dice is rolled, you can now decide whether to stop or to roll additional artillery dice and repeat the process up to a maximum of 3 artillery dice. In case a misfire is rolled, roll a d6 and consult the rattling gun misfire chart. No roller artillery dice may be rolled. On a 1 through 2, we have slam. Resolve the shots from the previous artillery dice rolled after this weapon team is removed from play. Spins wildly. Resolve the shots from the previous artillery dice rolled after this rattling gun fires d6 shots at all units. Roll separately for each one within 24 inches that you can draw a line of sight to in all directions from the rattling gun. And then resolve the shots from the previous artillery die roll. The last artillery dice is ignored. Then we have a Doom Flare, which is that slicing orbital thing. It causes combat with strength 4, armor piercing 1, rolling death. Instead of attacking normally, the Doom Flare causes 1 artillery dice worth of impact hits at the start of each close combat phase. In case of misfire is roll a d6, consult the Doom Flare mishap chart and the best defense. The mass of rolling blades provides extra protection of shield, giving the Doom Flare an armor save of 3+ against all models attacking from the front. The Doom Flare has only a 5+ armor save against attacks from the flank or the rear. So the miss chart is the blam for 1 or 2. Place a large round template centered over the weapon team. Any models touched by the template suffer a strength 4 hit with the armor piercing 1 special rule and remove the Doom Flare from play. Zap on a 3 to 5. The Doom Flare and all models in base contact take a strength 4 hit with lightning attacks special rule. As the device sends out potent shockwaves of warp energy, and on a 6, power failure. The Doom Flare may not attack or use its armor save this turn as a panic crew scramble to restart their engine of destruction. Or we have a poison wind motor. God, these Skaven guys are spoiled for choices on this. It's 8 to 36-inch range. Strength is not applicable. It's got ignore armor save, magical attacks, mover fire, slower fire. Poison wind. Models hit by a poison wind motor must pass a toughness test or suffer a wound. Note the poison wind motor crew wear gas masks, and in case of misfire is roll a d6, consult the poison wind motor mischarge chart. On a 1 or 2, we got a Foomph. Place a large round template center of the weapons team. Resolve the hit as normal. The poison wind motor is then removed. 3 to 5 is wildly off target. The template scatters 3d6 inches from its original position. Resolve any hits as normal. And 6 is clogged. No firing may take place while the device is dude. And then we have a warp grinder. Jeez. So many choices. Combat strength of 4, impact hits D3, magical attacks. You can, I'm assuming this is yeah, I'm not going to read all that. You can basically do tunneling with these guys. And of course, it's a warpstorm weapon and it inflicts D3, strength 4 hits in the close combat phase. You have the mishap chart. 1 to 2 is cave in and it's killed. 3 to 5 is partial collapse. And a 6 you should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. Your opponent places the mark anywhere within 18 inches of the original position. Wow. That's totally insane. Then we have Warp Lightning Cannons. These have toughness of 7, 5-inch movement, weapon normal crew. It's a great cannon from Clan Skyr. Warp Lightning Cannons that have the following profile: 27-inch range, strength of artillery dice, lightning attacks, magical attacks, multiple wounds d6. There's a non-magical attack. In a case of misfire is rolled, whirled on this misfire table. Fires like a normal cannon with the following exceptions. A roll of misfire on the bounce means that the energy dissipates and no hits are affected. If a number is rolled, similar to the small round template where the shot first lands before the bounce to represent the calculating exploding ball of energy, the shot then bounces like a normal cannonball. All models touched by the template or bounce suffer a bit of a hit of a strength equal to the result of the artillery dice for the bounce roll. Note that only the model under the center of the template and the bounce itself suffers multiple wounds. The Warp Lightning Cannon cannot fire a grape shot. So we have Meltdown, Energy Overload, and Sputtering Fizzle for their misfire charts. And so, kind of interesting there as well. And then we have the Doom Wheel, another iconic Skaven weapon of war. Looks like it's got random movement. It's got 5 strength, 6 toughness, 5 wounds. The Warp-like Engineer's got the stats of a normal clan rat, looks like. It's got a 4+ armor save. It's got immunity to psychology, large target 4, random movement 3d6, it causes terror. Loss of control at the end of any phase in which a Doom Wheel that is not in close combat or fleeing suffers a wound. The Skaven player must take a loss of control test. On a roll a d6 for each wound suffered in that phase. On a roll of 1 or more 1s, the Doom Wheel goes immediately out of control as he tilted on the mischap chart. We have a grind attack at the beginning of each round of combat. When it does not charge, Doom Wheel inflicts d3 plus 1 impact hits. And then we have Zap. It says in each friendly shooting phase, even when engaged in close combat or fleeing, the Doom Wheel automatically uses bolts of warp lightning using the following profile: 12-inch range, artillery dice and strength, lightning attacks, magical attacks, multiple shots d3, multiple wounds d3. Each lightning bolt will automatically hit the nearest unit, friend or foe, regardless of line of sight and direction, as a non-physical attack. The Warp-like Engineer may choose to make a leadership test to attempt to stop the Doom Wheel from firing. If the test has failed, the machine fires normal. Roll artillery dice to determine the strength of the bolts, ensuring that the Doom Wheel's base. If the closest unit dies from the first bolt, the second bolt hits the next closest unit in range, and so on. If 2 targets are equidistant, the only player may choose which unit is struck. If you roll a misfire, go and take a look at this. We have Disaster, Out of Control, and Burst of Speed. Wow. And then we have mounts for our Skaven players. We have the War Litter. Movement 5, weapon skill 4, 3 strength, ballistic skill 4 strength, 5 initiative, 4 attack, 5 leadership. We have the Scurry Away strength numbers. A War Litter should be placed on a 40 by 40 millimeter base, and it's +4 the unit strength of any model mounted on them. Then we have the Great Pox Rat. So it looks like a giant rat is what you're riding. With movement 7, weapon skill 3, 0 ballistic skill, 4 strength, the toughness, 1 wound, 5 initiative, 2 attacks, 2 leadership. It has poison attacks and skittering. A model mounted on a Great Pox Rat is treated as an infantry model for the purpose of Lookout Sir and the Rat Ogre Bonebreaker. It's got movement of 6, weapon skill of 4, 3 ballistic skill, 5 strength, the toughness, 3 wounds, 3 initiative, 4 attacks, 5 leadership. Monstrous Beast with the Scurry Away rule. So now that we're done with the army rules, with all that, let's go ahead and talk about special characters next. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about special characters. So we have Thankwell and Bone Ripper. I know about these guys from the Warhammer books. These guys are like the characters from the Skaven, like the most iconic characters. So Gracier Thankwell has got movement 5, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength of 3, 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 6 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership. Level 4 wizard, he uses spells from Lord of Ruin and or the Lore of Plague. He also knows the Curse of the Horn-Wrapped spell. He's got the Scurry Away, Strength of Numbers, and Verminous Valor special rule. He's also got Warpstone Addiction. When casting a spell, Thankwell rolls a 1 with any power dice generated by a Warpstone token. He can re-roll the dice, so the second result will cause a wound on a roll of 1 or 2. We have Blessings of the Horned Rat. He's got ward save 4+ special rule. For every wound Thankwell saves, one friendly model within 6 inches, only the player's choice, takes a wound instead. Normally saves apply. If no friendly models within 6 inches, the wound fails to deflect anywhere and is ignored. And then we have Amulet of the Horned Rat. It's a talisman. As long as Thankwell has at least 1 single wound remaining at the beginning of each of his turns, Thankwell can use the amulet to heal himself. On roll of 5+, Thankwell regains a single wound. Staff of the Horned Rat is an arcane item. The Staff of the Horned Rat gives Thankwell an additional spell. And then we have his bodyguard, Bone Ripper. Looks like we have 2 different types for Bone Ripper. We have the Mark 1 Bone Ripper, who's got movement 6, 3 weapon skill, 1 ballistic skill, 5 strength and toughness, 4 wounds, 1 initiative, 4 attack, 10 leadership. He's just a monstrous infantry character. And then we have Bone Ripper Mark 2, which is a monster. He's got 6-inch movement, 3 weapon skill, 1 ballistic skill, 6 toughness, strength, 5 toughness, 5 wounds, 1 initiative, 5 attacks, 10 leadership. He's unbreakable. And we have the bodyguard of Thankwell. If at the start of any friendly turns Bone Ripper is not within 12 inches of Thankwell, then he is programmed to shut down. While shut down, Bone Ripper cannot do anything at all, and in combat he will be hit automatically and will not strike back. If the game ends while Bone Ripper is shut down, he counts as a casualty. If Thankwell is slain or flees off the table, Bone Ripper is removed as casualty as well. So we have Bone Ripper may fire 1 Warp Fire Thrower each turn, while Bone Ripper Mark 2 can fire 2 Warp Fire Throwers each turn. These attacks are completely resolved one at a time and may be directed at different targets if desired. Because Bone Ripper Mark 2 has 4 Warp Fire Throwers, he may reroll all failed rolls to wound with them. Each Warp Fire Thrower acts as a fire thrower with a falling profile with strength 5, flaming attacks, magical attacks, multiple wounds D3, slow to fire. In case of a misfire's roll, Bone Ripper suffers a wound with no saves allowed. And then we have Warp Fire Braziers. These are combat attacks giving +1 strength in combat. They're flaming magical attacks with multiple wounds D3 and warp fumes. At the beginning of any close combat phase, all models of base contact, friend or foe with Bone Ripper Mark II must pass a toughness test or suffer a single wound with the ignores armor saves and magical attack special rules. All Clan Pestilence models gain a +1 bonus for these tests because Bone Ripper Mark II has 4 Warp Fire Braziers, and you may reroll all filled wounds to roll with them. So very, very cool there. Then we have Queek Headtaker, Right Claw of Clan Moors. So that's another clan. This guy is the fighter of all the, if I remember correctly, he's the fighter character. He's got movement 5, weapon skill 7, 6 plus skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 7 initiative, 4 attacks, 8 leadership. He's got the Scurry Array, strength and numbers, hatred of dwarves, orcs, and goblins. He's got trophy heads. Queek must issue or accept challenges whenever possible. When fighting in a challenge, Queek gains +1 to hit and to wound. He's got Red Guard, which is his, must be accompanied by his Red Guard and may not join any other units. Red Guard are a unit of Storm Vermin with additional +1 strength. Queek must deploy with this unit and may not leave it. No other characters may join the unit. Then we have Dwarf Gouger, his War Pick. It's 2-hand weapons. Attacks with his weapons have the Ignores Armor Save special rule. In addition, against dwarves, it always wounds on a 2+. He's got his Warpstone Armor. Heavy armor. For each successful armor save made in close combat, the armor inflicts a strength 5 hit against the enemy that struck the blow. And the Foul Pendant. Talisman. Foul Pendant gives Queek the ward save 5+ special rules. So yeah, this is like the fighter character. Then we have Screech Vermin King, the Rat King. So let's take a look at this guy. Let's see, he's got 8 movement, 8 weapon skill, 4 plus skill, 6 strength and toughness and wounds, 10 initiative, 5 attacks, 8 leadership. Looks like he's a monster, level 4 wizard, no spells, Lord of Ruin, Lord of Plagues, and or the Lord of Stealth. Addition, he knows the Curse of the Horned Rat spell. He's a demonic, so I guess he's supposed to be like a special character, Vermin Lord. Master of Ruin, Screech Vermin King rerolls failed at casting attempts, attempting to cast Curse of the Horned Rat. In his arsenal, Screech Vermin King is armed with 2 magic weapons, a Doom Glaive and a Plague Reaper, save Vermin Lords. At the start of each close combat phase, you must declare which weapon he's going to use for that turn. Then we have Nurglich, Arch Plague Lord of Clan Pestilence. He's got movement 5, weapon skill 6, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength and 5 toughness, 3 wounds, 5 initiative, 3 attacks, and 7 leadership. And we have Bilios. Looks like Bilios is his attendant. He's got movement 5, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength of 3, 3 initiative, 2 attacks, 6 leadership. And he rides on Pox, which I guess is a giant creature of some sort. With movement 7, 3 weapon skill, 0 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 1 wound, 5 initiative, 2 attacks, 2 leadership. Nurglich is level 3 wizard, uses Lord's spells and Lord of Plagues. Got Scurry Away, Strength of Numbers, and Terror. Passion of the Putrid. Nurglich and Bilios are subject to frenzy and hatred. Such as the inspirational effect Nurglich has on his army that no Clan Pestilence unit will lose frenzy while Nurglich is still alive. Sign of Corruption. The Plague Lord is so favored by his vile god that he has a ward save of 5+. In addition, neither Nurglich or any unit he joins will ever suffer wounds from spells cast on the Lord of Plague or the Lord Nurgle. Furthermore, they automatically pass tests for the effects of plague sensors. The Grim Ague. It says any non-clan pestilent unit within 6 inches of Nurglich suffer -1 on their weapon skill. Furthermore, any such model-based contact Nurglich at the end of any close combat phase automatically takes a strength 4 hit with the ignores armor save special rule that counts towards combat resolution. He's got the Blade of Nurglich. Enemy models lose 1 point of toughness from their profile for each one they suffer from this blade. And Bubonic Scepter. Bound spell, power level 5. The Bubonic Scepter contains a direct damage spell with a range of 18 inches. Roll a d6 for each model in the unit. For every roll of 6, that unit suffers a wound with ignores armor save special rule. Very powerful ability there too. We have Lord Skrolk, Plague Lord of Clan Pestilence. So he's one of the Plague Lords of the Clan Pestilence. Let's take a look at this guy. If I remember correctly, this is a special character who carries the Plague Sensor, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he does. He's got movement 5, weapon skill 6, plus skill 4, strength of 4, toughness 5, 3 wounds, 6 initiative, 4 attacks, 7 leadership. Level 4/3 wizard with the spells Lord of the Lord of Plague. He's got the Frenzy, Scurry Away, Strength of Numbers, and Terror. Aura of Pestilence. Any models and base contact with Lord Skrolk suffers -1 and all their to hit rolls. All Clan Pestilence models are immune to such effects. He has the Rod of Corruption, which is a plague sensor. Models hit by the rod must pass a single toughness test, regardless of the number of hits, or instantly decay and die, with no saves of any kind allowed. If the victim passes the toughness test, roll the wound as normal. And the Liber Bubonicus. Arcane item, bound spell, power level 5. The Liber Bubonicus contains a direct damage spell with a range of 24 inches, When cast, roll a d6 to see the effect. On a 1, squeaking, squealing nonsense, no effect. On a 2 through 4, the Withering Pox. Each model in the unit suffers a strength 1 hit, which ignores armor save special rule, and 5 to 6 death plague. Each model in the unit suffers a strength 2 hit with ignores armor save special rule as well. Then we have Death Master Snickich, Chief Assassin of Clan Eshin. So this is the Assassin special character. Let's take a look here. He's got movement 6, weapon skill 8, 6 plus skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 10 initiative, 5 attacks, 8 leadership. He's got 5 plus dodge, hidden, poison attack, scout, screw away, sensei, and verminous valor special rules. He's got bands of power. And it says bound spell level 4. The bands of power contains an augment spell that can be cast on Snickich himself. If cast, Snickich will double his strength at the start of the next magic phase. So very tough there. And Cloak of Shadows. Enemy units cannot charge or target Snickich with missile attacks or spells if they're more than 12 inches away from him. Within 12 inches, he can only be charged or targeted by first rolling a 4+. If the test is failed, then you may choose a new target as normal. This item has no effect as long as Snickich is hidden. Then we have Throt the Unclean, Master Mutator of Clan Molder. So yeah, this is the Potbelly guy. He's got a man catcher, if I remember correctly. He's got movement 5, weapon skill 6, 3 plus skill, 4 strength, toughness, 3 wounds, 6 initiative, 4 attacks, 7 leadership. He's got Fear, Regeneration 4+, Scurry Away, Strength and Numbers, Master Controller. Throt has the Beastmaster special rule. In addition, unless he is already in the Army General, all Clan Molder units, except characters, treat him as having inspiring presence. He's got Ravening Hunger. At the start of each turn, Throt must pass a toughness test or start to eat one model on base contact of your choosing. This model suffers 1 wound, which ignores armor saves and does not allow ward saves. If it is not possible, Throt will suffer 1 wound with no saves allowed. So he's a hungry boy. He's got the Creature Killer. The Thing Catcher, the Creature Killer gives Throt the Unclean, the Heroic Killing Blow special rule, very deadly. And Whip of Domination, it's a whip that gives Throt +1 attacks in addition to his normal attacks. Any enemy unit that takes an unsaved wound from the Whip of Domination suffers -2 penalty to his leadership for the remainder of the player turn. So that's a pretty powerful character. He has some pretty powerful things. Then we have Ikit Claw, the Chief Warlock of Clan Skyer. That's right, this guy's like a cyborg, if I remember correctly. He's got like cybernetic parts. Movement 5, weapon skill 5, 3 plus skills, 5 strength, 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 3 initiative, 2 attacks, 7 leadership. Ikit Claw is a level 4 wizard who can use spells and Lore of Ruin. He's got the Scurry Away, Strength and Numbers, Verminous Valor special rule. He's got the Storm Demon, which is a pole arm, attacks with the weapon at the lightning attack special rule. In addition, the Storm Demon can project bolts of dark lightning from its tip. Storm Demon contains a bound spell, power level 6. This is a magic missile with a range of 24 inches that causes an artillery dice worth of strength 5 hits with the lightning attack special rule. In the case of a misfire, no shots are fired, but instead roll a d6 assault the Storm Demon misfire chart. It looks like this army is really big on charts. So we have 1 to 3 gives you Zark, Ikit Claw, and every model in base contact with him suffers a strength 5 hit. 3 to 5 is Disruption. Ikit may not cast spells for the rest of the Skaven magic phase while he sorts his power cables out. And 6 is full power. Ikit may immediately add D3 power dice to the pool for the current magic phase. And we have Iron Frame magic armor. Medium armor, the suit gives Ikit Claw the ward save 5 up roll, as well as +2 to his strength value, already included his profile. Once per game, Ikit can fire the warp fire projector found in the device. This is a strength 5 breath weapon attack with the flaming attacks, magical attacks, multiple wounds, D3 special rules. So very deadly wizard. Then we have Trich Craventail, chieftain of Clan Rictus. I'm not sure who this guy is, but let's go and talk about him real quick. So he's got movement 5, weapon skill 5, plus a skill strength and toughness of 4, 2 wounds, 6 initiative, 3 attacks, 6 leadership. Scurry Away, Strength and Numbers of Verminous Valor, which is Trich's Raiders. Trich can choose 1 unit of Clan Rats or Stormreaver in your army to deploy as ambushers as long as they don't have a weapon team. If so, Trich must deploy with this unit. In addition, he and his unit may reroll all failed to hit rolls when attacking the flank or rear. Stay here, I'll get help. Once per friendly turn at the start of any phase, Trich can leave any unit he is with and make move of 2d signatures as if he was in the remaining sub-moves phase. And he's got the Lucky Skull Helm, which is magic armor. The Soul Helm gives Trich +1 to his armor save and a ward save of 4 up. In addition, once per game, he can reroll a dice roll. The reroll can be 1 of his to hit, to wound, armor, or ward save, leadership test, or a stay here, I'll get help roll. So that's kind of cool. Then we have Squeal Gnawtooth, Packmaster of Hell Pit. So I guess he's another special character. He's got movement 6, weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 3, fortunately toughness 2 wounds, 6 initiative, 2 attacks, 6 leadership. We have Gut Snagger, which has got movement 6, 3 weapon skill, ballistic skill 0, 2 strength, and then 2 attacks. So I guess he's a character with a pet, I guess. He's got mixed unit, Scurry Away, Strength and Numbers, and Verminous Valor. He's got the Exceptional Pack. If you include Squall Wheel Gnawtooth in your army, you must also include a unit of giant rats that he must join. After deploying Squeal to his unit, roll d6 and consult the chart below to determine the pack's special abilities. Yep, chart happy. The effects are for the entire pack, but do not affect Squeal, Pack Masters, or Master Molders. Squeal will never leave his special pack and may never join another unit. So 1 to 2 got poison attacks. All pack attacks have the poison attack special rule. 3 through 4 is additional attacks. If each pack creature has +1 attack, 5 to 6 regenerate. The pack creatures have regeneration 4 special rule. And he's got the Whiplash, which is a whip. Whiplash gives Squeal the armor piercing 1 and multiple wounds 2 special rule. And that makes up all the special characters for the Skaven. So that being said, let's go ahead and talk about their magic and magic items next. Alright, so let's talk about the Skaven's magic and magical items with the Lore of Ruin. So the Musk of Fear lore attribute, whenever a spell from Lore of Ruin is cast, all enemy units within 6 inches of the caster suffer -1 to leadership to a minimum of 1 until the start of the caster's next magic phase. So pretty helpful lore there. We have Warp Lightning, signature spell, cast an A+. Magic Missile with a range of 24 inches that cause d6 strength 5 hits with a lightning attack special rule. If the number of hits rolled is a natural 1, then the caster suffers a strength 5 hit instead of the target. The caster can choose to increase the power of the spell to cause 2d6 strength 5 hits instead. If they do so, the casting value increases 16+. We have Howling Warp Gale, cast on 7+. Is cast on the wizard himself until they start the caster's next magic phase. No units within 18 inches of the caster may use the fly special rule, and all non-magical missile attacks are -1 to hit. The caster can choose to increase the power of the spell to affect all units within 36 inches. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 14. That's a very powerful ability right there. I think that's a good one. Death Frenzy, cast on 8+, augment spell in the range of 24 inches. The target unit will immediately be affected by the Frenzy special rule. If the wizard casts a spell on a unit that already has a Frenzy special rule, the unit will be subject to Death Frenzy, giving them 2 extra attacks rather than normal 1 from Frenzy. Units that are Death Frenzied suffer d6 automatic wounds with the Ignore Armor Save special rule at the end of each friendly turn. A unit that is Death Frenzied will go back to having normal Frenzy once they lose a round of close combat. So, Suicide Squad type of things. 3 is Warp Stone, cast on 10+. Direct damage spell that targets all units within 12 inches. Roll a d6 for each enemy within range, including units in close combat. On a 4+, enemy unit suffers d6 strength 5 hits with a lightning attack special rule. Friendly units are only affected on a 6. We have Flinching Ruin, cast on a 10+, direct damage spell with a range of 12 inches that target a single model, even a character in a unit. The target suffers d3 strength 6 hits with the lightning attack special rule. The caster can choose to increase the range of the spell to 24 inches instead. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 13. So far, all of these spells are really powerful. Then we have Scorch, cast on 13+. Scorch is a direct damage spell. Place a small round template anywhere within 24 inches and it scatters d6 inches. All models underneath the template suffer a flaming strength 4 hit. Any unit that suffers an unsaved wound must take a panic test. The caster can choose to increase the power of the spell to use a large round template instead. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 16+, and the template scatters 2d6 inches rather than d6. Not so useful. Then we have 6 Cracks Call plus 14. Direct damage spell with a range of 46 inches. Trace a straight line from the base of the caster, the number of inches rolled. All models in this path must pass initiative tests to leap out of the way or be removed as casualties with no saves except magic resistance allowed. Instead of taking an initiative test, war machines and chariots must roll a 5-up or be destroyed. A building or single section of a multi-part building affected by the spell will collapse on a roll of 5+. If the building collapses, any model's garrison unit must pass an initiative test or be removed as casualties, no armor saves allowed. Any survivors are placed outside the building as described for a unit abandoning a building. Then replace the building with an area of dangerous terrain of equal size. The caster may choose to increase the range of the spell by doubling the result of 46 inches rolled. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 17+. So Lore of Ruin, pretty deadly lore, I must say. Then we have the Lore of Plague, Plague Rash, lore attribute. Whenever a spell from the Lore of Plague is cast, all enemy units within 6 inches of the caster must -1 to their movement initiative to a minimum of 1 until the start of the caster's next magic phase. Pretty powerful ability there. We have Pestilent Breath, signature spell, cast on 5+. Direct damage spell. The caster makes a strength 2 breath weapon attack with the Ignores Armor Save special rule. This may be cast in close combat, following normal rules for breath weapons. The caster can choose to increase the strength of the spell to 3, and they do so, the casting values of the spells increase to 8+. Then we have Blessed with Filth, cast on 8. It is an augment spell with a range of 12 inches. The target gets the poison attack special rule until the start of the caster's next magic phase. If the unit already has poison attacks, the warriors will also cause automatic wound on a roll of 6+. The caster can choose to increase the range of the spell to 24 inches. If they do so, the casting value of the spell is increased to 11 plus. Pretty useful ability there. Vermintide, cast on 8 plus. Magical Vortex, they use the large template. Once the template is placed, the player then nominates the direction which the Vermintide will move. To determine how many inches the template will move, roll 46 inches. Any model touched by the template takes a strength 2 hit. After this, the rats disperse and the spell disappears. This spell may be cast in close combat, in which case it causes 3d6 strength 2 hits on a single enemy unit based contact with the caster. Kind of a powerful ability right there too. Then we have 3 Weeping World Swords on a 9 plus. Weeping World Swords, a direct damage spell with a range of 24 inches. Place a small template anywhere within the range. It scatters d6 inches. All models touched by the template suffer a strength 2 hit with the ignores armor save special rule. The caster can choose to increase the power of the spell to use the large round template. Instead, if they do so, the casting value is increased to 12 plus, and the template scatters 2d6 rather than 6. Not so impressive. Then we have Wither, cast on 11 plus, a hex spell with a range of 12 inches. The target suffers -1 to their toughness for the remainder of the game. This can be cast multiple times on the same target. Effects are cumulative. The caster can choose to increase the range of the spell to 24 inches. If they do so, casting value of the spell is increased to 14 plus. Very powerful spell right there. Then we have Cloud of Corruption, cast on 12 plus, direct damage spell that targets all units within 12 inches. Roll a d6 for each unit, friend or foe, that are even close combat. Enemy units are affected on a 2 plus, while friendly units are affected on a 4 plus, and models from Clan Pestilence, friend or foe, are affected on a roll of 5 plus. Each unit that is affected suffers d6 strength 5 hits with the Ignores armor save special rule. Roll separately for each unit. Very deadly ability right there. And then finally we have Plague, cast on a 15 plus. Direct damage spell with a range of 18 inches that may even be cast on enemies in close combat. Each model of the target unit must pass a toughness test or suffer 1 wound with an armor nor armor save for special rule. If cast on a unit engaged in close combat, all units involved in the fight, friend and foe, will be affected. After working out the effects of the spell and removing casualties, roll d6 and consult the chart below, and continue to apply the results until the spell ends or there are no targets within range. On a 1, the spell backfires. The opponent can decide to end the spell or choose any 1 unit within 12 inches of a unit affected by the spell during the magic phase and pass it on as per the 5-6 result before. The unit result suffers as before. 2 to 4, the spell ends, and 5 to 6, the casting player can decide to end the spell or pass it along another target within 12 inches of a unit affected by the spell during the magic phase. The unit selected suffers as above. Units cannot be affected twice by the spell in the same magic phase. Very deadly. And then we have the lore of Stealth, which is, I guess, the Clan Escher guys. We got Toxic Rain as the lore attribute. Whenever a spell from the lore of Stealth is cast, all enemy units within 6 inches of the caster suffer -1 penalty to the armor saves until the start of the next magic phase. We have Skitter Leap, which is a signature spell, cast on a 5 plus. Augment spell with a range of 12 inches. The target model, which must be an infantry character, may immediately be placed anywhere on the battlefield within 24 inches of the caster, but at least 1 inch away from enemy models. The caster may choose to increase the range of the spell to 24 inches. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 8 plus. Great way to get your assassins into locations to cause problems. Then we have Warp Stars for 1, cast on a 5 plus, magic missile with a range of 18 inches that causes D3 strength 5 hits with the multiple wounds D3 special rule. The caster can choose to increase the power of the spell to cause 6d6 hits instead. If they do so, the casting value increases to 10 plus. Very powerful ability. Sticky Paws, cast on a 6 plus. Augment spell with a range of 24 inches that can cast on an infantry unit. The unit ignores dangerous terrain and impassable terrain until the start of the next caster's next magic phase. The caster can choose to have this spell target all friendly units within 12 inches. If they do so, casting values increase to 12 plus. Very nice way to get your gunner runners and night runners as such to get into combat with your enemy. Then we have Armor of Darkness for 9 plus. Augment spell that is cast on the wizard himself. Until the start of the caster's next magic phase, all missile fire directed at him or his units suffer -1 to hit. In addition, the unit adds +1 to their armor save. The caster can choose to have this spell target all friendly within 6 inches, and they do so, cast on to 18 plus. Nice ability right there too. Then we have Swift Scamper, cast on 9 plus, augment spell with a range of 24 inches. The target unit doubles its movement rate to a max of 10 and can reroll their charge, flee, and pursuit rolls until the start of the caster's next magic phase. The caster can choose to have this spell target all friendlies within 12 inches. If they do so, the casting values increase to 18 plus. That's a nice ability right there as well, to be able to move across the battlefield and engage your opponents. Then we have Black Whirlwind, cast a 10 plus, direct damage spell, place the small round template within 24 inches and then scatters d6 inches. All models underneath the template suffer a strength 3 hit. The unit then suffers -1 to their weapon skill, ballistic skill, initiative until the start of the master's next magic phase. The caster can choose to increase the power of this spell to use the large round template instead. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 13 plus, and the template scatters 2d6 rather than d6. That's okay. Most of the time, that I'm not really looking at the damage output. I'm looking at the ability to actually have -1 weapon skill, ballistic skill, initiative to your enemy. That could be really powerful too. And then 6 is Veil of Shadows, cast on 11 plus, remains in play. Veil of Shadows as a magical vortex that uses a large template. Once the template is placed, the player then nominates the direction in which the Veil of Shadows will move. To determine how many inches the template moves, roll an artillery dice and multiply the result by 3. Any model touched by the template takes a strength 3 hit, and the unit will count as being disrupted for the remainder of that turn. Oof! That could really mess up your enemy, especially if you have a huge horde formation with good combat res. If the result of the artillery dice is misfire, scatter the center of the template and the caster roll a scatter dice and a d6. The template moves a number of inches equal to the result of the d6. The direction shown on the scatter dice is, if you roll a hit, use the little arrow shown in the hit symbol. In either case, in subsequent turns, the Veil of Shadows travels in random directions and moves a number of inches equal to the roll on an artillery dice. If a misfire is rolled in subsequent turns, the Veil of Shadows is removed. So very, very deadly. This kind of messes you up. Then we have the Tools of Supremacy, which are their magical items. We have the Fell Blade for 85 points. If I remember correctly, I think this is the weapon that killed Nagash. Warlord only. This foul sword gives the bearer strength 10, multiple wounds d6 special rule, and successful ward saves taken against wounds inflicted by the bearer in close combat must be rerolled. On a d6 at the end of the wielder's turn, on 3 plus, there is no effect. On a roll of 1 or 2, the wielder suffers 1 wound, no armor save allowed. So yeah, this is the legendary weapon that killed Nagash. Then we have the Blade of Corruption for 35. Wielder this sword owns on at least a 3 plus regardless of the enemy's toughness. For each wound suffered or after saves, the model must pass a toughness test or suffer an additional wound with no saves allowed. Pretty cool there. Then we have Dwarf Slayer for 35 points. All attacks made with this weapon are resolved with +1 strength and have multiple wounds 2 special rule. Against all models from Warhammer Dwarves, all hits of the armor piercing 1 special rule, and the wielder may reroll rules to wound. Then we have Rust Armor for 25 points. It's medium armor. The first time the wearer is wounded by a strength high enough to completely cancel armor save or is not permitted an armor save for any reason, the wound is discounted, but the armor is completely destroyed. Not bad for 25 points. Then we have the Warpstone Amulet for 30. The Warpstone Amulet confers the bearer ward save 4 plus special rule. At the end of each of your turns, roll a d6. On a result of 1, the character succumbs to the mutating power of the Warpstone and suffers a wound with no armor saves allowed. 30 points for a 4-up ward save, that's worth the risk. Then we have the Warp Scroll for 25 points, arcane item, 1 use only, bound spell, power level 6. The Warp Scroll contains a direct damage spell with a range of 24 inches. It inflicts a strength 3 hit on all models in the unit. The unit suffers any casualties from the spell, they must also take a panic test. Not bad for 25 points. Then we have Skaven Brew for 30 points, enchanted item, 1 use only. At the start of the game, a character carrying Skaven Brew can force a single unit of clan rats or a storm vermin in base contact to guzzle the vile liquid. Skaven Brew only affects the unit, and no character models would be so unwise as to drink the potion. Roll a d6 and salt the table below. On 1 gone bad, the unit takes d6 strength 3 automatic hits with ignore armor save special rule. The Skaven Brew has no additional effect. 2 to 3 inspired hatred, the unit is subject to hatred. 4 to 5 frenzy, the unit is subject to frenzy, and 6 rabid. The unit's metabolism is driven and hyperactive, ramping up a feverish pitch. The unit is subject to both frenzy and hatred. At the start of the Skaven player's subsequent turns, the unit will take d6 automatic wounds as some of the ratmen collapse, hearts or brains bursting with fury. Then we have Scalm. That's the healing potion, remember correctly, 45 points. 1 use only. Scalm can be used at the beginning of any phase in either player's turn. The bearer recovers all wounds suffered up to that point in the battle. Very powerful ability. Then we have the Sacred Standard of the Horned Rat for 75 points. All enemies within 12 inches of this banner suffer -1 penalty to leadership, and enemy units in base contact with the bearer of this banner must reroll any successful leadership tests. Very powerful ability for 75 points. And then the Storm Banner for 50 points, 1 use only. The banner can be activated at the beginning of any player's turn. Within 24 inches of the banner, no models may use Fly special rule in all units that are -2 to be hit with non-magical missile attacks. All non-magical missile attacks do not use Ballistic skill, and they need to roll a 4 plus on a d6 before they can attempt to fire if they are within 24 inches of the banner. Roll a d6 at the beginning of each following player turn. The effects of the banner will end on a d6 roll of 4 plus. Another powerful banner too. Man, Skaven's got some good stuff, man. I can see why a lot of people like playing Skaven so much. So with the magic rules over with, the last thing we talk about real fast is the Skaven army list. So we'll be right back after this. Alright, so let's go and talk about the Skaven army list real quick. So first of all, Thinkwell and Bone Ripper cost 320 points. Let's see here, Bone Ripper is 160, and Bone Ripper Mark II is 265 points, and you can exchange out your Warp Fire Throwers for Braziers for free. So that part's kind of nice. Screech Vermin King, he's 470 points himself. Queek Head Taker is 225 points. Nurglitch is 415. Lord Skrulk is 385. Throughout the Unclean is 185. Ica Claw is 310. Deathmack Snickage is 280. Grayseer normally is 220 points. They can ride a Warlord for 10 or Screaming Bill for 200. They take up to 5 War Tokens for 10 points apiece. Can take magic items up to 100 points. A Warlord is 85. They can take additional hand weapons, pole arms, and great weapons, and warp block pistols, heavy armor, shields, tail weapons, a Rat Hound bodyguard. They could be also mounted on a Warlord, a Great Pox Rat, a Rat Ogre Bone Breaker, or a Brood Horror. So that's kind of cool. Can take magic items up to 100 points. Vermin Lord is 450 points. You can give them a Warp Seer for 50, a Deceiver for 25, a Cryptor for 5, or a Warbringer for 25 points for those. A Plague Lord is 190 points, may be given additional hand weapons, great weapons, flails, and plague sensors. May be rounded on a Great Pox Rat or a Plague Furnace, may take magic items up to 100 points. Master Assassins 155, they can take blowpipes for 5, a tail weapon for 5, and a mixture of Eshin tools and or magic items up to 100 points. Eshin Sorcerer Lord is 175, they can take magic items up to 100 points, so pretty cool there. Then we have Master Mutators for 90 points. They can take additional hand weapons, great weapons, whips, or things catchers. They can have a tail weapon as well as ride a Great Pox Rat, a Rat Ogre Bone Breaker, or a Brood Horror, and they can take magic items up to 100 points. A Warp Block Master is 160 points. They can take a pole arm or a Warp Block pistol and a tail weapon. They can take up to 5 Warpstone tokens for 10 points apiece, and either Clan Skyr, Gear of War, or magic items for 100 points there, so that is kind of cool. Then we have our heroes. Tritch Craven Claw is 110 points. Creel Gnawtooth is 85. A Chieftain is 45, and a Ballasted Bear for 25. They can take additional hand weapons, pole arms, great weapons, Warlock pistols, heavy armor, shields, tail weapons, a round hand bodyguard, or magic items up to 50 points. Then we have our Plague Priest for 95. They can take hand weapons, great weapons, flails, plague cinctures. They can mount on a Great Pox Rat or a Plague Furnace. They can take 50 points of magic items. Assassins cost 110 points. They can take blowpipes for 5, a tail weapon for 5. They can take tools or magic items up to 50 points. And Eshin Sorcerer gets 75 points there. They can take upgrade a level 2 wizard for 35. They take magic items up to 50. Level 1 wizard uses spells and lore stealth. And then we have our heroes. Our Master Molder is 35 points. Additional hand weapons, great weapons, whips, and things catchers. They can have a tail weapon. They can be mounted on a Great Pox Rat or a Rat Ogre Bone Breaker. And they can take Clan Molder Beast Prods and or magic items worth up to 50 points there. And then we have a Warp Block Engineer for 65 points. Can be upgraded to level 2 wizards. They can take pole arms and warp block pistols. They can have a tail weapon. They can take up to 3 warpstone tokens with 10 points apiece, and can take Clan Skyr gear or magic weapon items up to 50 points for that as well. Then we have the Screaming Bell and the Plague Furnace for their mounts, what we have there. So for our core units, we have our Clan Rats for 5 points per. They can take 30 points for full command, a 25-point magic standard. They can be armed with spears, and they can be occupied by 1 fire team with either a Warp Fire Thrower, a Rattling Gun, Poison Wind Globator, or Doom Flayer. So that's pretty cool. Storm Vermin for 7 points per. They come with hand weapons and medium armor. Full command is 30 points. They can take a magic center worth of 50. They can take pole arms for 2, which I highly recommend. Shields for 1, or they can upgrade a heavy armor for 1 additional point. And they can take a Warp Fire Thrower, Poison Wind Motor, Rattling Gun, or a Doom Flayer. Skaven Slaves cost 2 points per. They can take a Pal Leader and a Musician for 10. They can be armed with spears, slings, and pole arms, and carry shields. Weapons teams, of course, we talked about those guys. Plague Monks are core at 8 points per. They come with 2 hand weapons. They can have a full command for 30, magic center for 25. Night Runners are core for 6 points per. They can take a Night Leader for 10. They'd be armed with slings as well as a Warp Grinder, and as well as accompanied by Skirmishers, and they can become skirmishers as well. Giant Rats are core for 2 points per. You may add 1 Pack Master for every 5 Giant Rats in the unit for 10 points. You have Rat Swarms for 25 points per base. And then our special units, you have our Gut Runners for 10 points. Their champions 10 points as well. They could take poison attacks, arm with snare nets, arm with slings, arm with a wart grinder. We have plague sensor bearers for 13 points per. The champion is 10 points. Plague rats for 30 points per base. Wolf rats for 6 points per. And pox feeders at 1 additional point. Warpstone shard teeth 1 additional point. Bloated mutants for 2 points. Rat ogres are 35 points, 33 points per miniature. You may add 1 pack master for every 2 rat ogres in the unit for 10 points per model. Brain transplants K's cost 3, extra extremities is 3, quadrupedal is 3, armored is 6, resilient is 6, and trollblood is 6, and you can take 2 of the following. Warp Lock Giselles cost 20 points per, their champion costs 20, Poison Wind Globadiers cost 9 points per, Bombardier costs 10, and they may be accompanied by a Poison Wind Mortar for 60 points. What else do we have? We also have our rare units now. We have our Edition Triad, which is 3 guys. They cost 105 points per. They have tail weapons for 3 points, may take smoke bombs for 5. Brood Horrors cost 150 points. They can take a Lash Tail, Rusted Armor, Skyre Claws, and Pestilent Breath for all those points, of course. Hellbed Abomination costs 225 points with 10 points for their Warpstone spikes. And then we have our Storm Fiends. They cost 50 points per model. All models you must pick one of the following. Different models may have different weapons. We have Warp Fire Projectors for 60, Wind Launchers for 5, Rattling Cannons for 35, Grinder Fists for 25, Shock Gauntlets for 20, and Doomflare Gauntlets for 15. And then we have our Plague Claw Catapult for 100 points, our Warp Lightning Cannon for 100 points, and a Doom Wheel for 160 points. And that right there makes up the army list for the Skaven for the 9th edition rules. Alright, so that finishes up my review of the Skaven Warhammer Army Book for 9th edition Warhammer Fantasy. And I have to admit, there's some really cool things are involved in this book. You have a lot, I mean a ton of choices, almost an overwhelming amount of choices that you can have for a 9th edition Skaven Army. All the possible combinations and things you can come with is really, really cool. And they have some really interesting rules and some very interesting weapons and special rules and magic stuff. You can have yourself a blast playing this army as well. The only downside I would say about playing a Skaven army is that I am aware that you have to have a lot of miniatures in a Skaven army. It's a very much a horde-based army. So for a cheapskate like me, that's kind of like a negative for me, but that's just because I'm a cheapskate. I don't really want to buy miniatures that way. But for everybody else, though, this is really cool. You can do some really awesome things with this book, and since it's free to download, I mean, might as well. You know, nothing wrong with that. Now, with that being said, this actually finishes up all of my reviews for the Warhammer Army Project's army books that they actually have for all the major factions. And I have to admit, Matthias Leisen did an amazing job with all of these rule sets, with all the rules they wrote up. Not only creating rules for the factions that existed in Warhammer 8th edition, but for factions that never received any official support. So that part's amazing. So the rules are really well written. I liked a lot of the different nuances involved with the game. It's a very well written system. And the fact that it's free to download makes it even better, in my opinion, as well. So if you're one of those kind of players who wants to continue playing Warhammer Fantasy, but you want to play Warhammer Fantasy 8th edition or Warhammer the Old World, you want to play this instead, this is a wonderful option for you to use, because even though it's an unofficial game, there's no one stopping us from just playing with our friends whatever rule system that we want to use. For example, my channel, when the Games Workshop killed Warhammer Fantasy for 8th edition, I just kept playing it anyways, even though they took away the official rules. Now for competitive players, I know that could be a huge problem. For just hobbyists like myself, it's not a big deal. You can use whatever rules system that you want to, because it's all about, in the end of the day, what you want to do and what's more fun for you, your friends, and your gaming group. And so, of course, play accordingly. So Matthias Eliasson, if you do happen to watch this video, you did an excellent job on all of it. I was absolutely stunned by all the work that you did for this. So excellent job, and he deserves all the accolades he deserves. So if you haven't done so yet, go check out his project and check out, look at all the things that he's done for his material, because it's absolutely amazing. So there you guys have it. That's going to do it for this one. This will be the very last of my reviews for the Warhammer Armies Project. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We will catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.